Welcome to the Butterfly Effect. I'm Chris Horner. This is Stage 6 of the Vuelta a España 2025. Now, if you watch a lot of bike racing like I do, you know Stage 6 of the last 2 years of the Vuelta a España normally has something special for us fans sitting on the Chesterfield. I back you up into last year was the stage where Ben O'Connor took the race leader's red jersey and won the stage and got a ton of time on Bora Hansgrohe's Primoz Roglic. They were knuckleheads. Primoz Roglic, first page rider, you needed to defend that day. Every other team that sat behind Primoz Roglic, Bora Hansgrohe team, did a fantastic job on last year's 2024 Vuelta a España, Stage 6. Back it up 2 years, go into 2023. Remember that Stage 6? That was the day when we're talking a 40-rider break, went up the road with one Sepp Kuss and 3 of his teammates. That means what? 40 riders with 4 riders from VISMA bike, and one is an ace climber, Sepp Kuss, and he's got 3 teammates with him that can control the group. So if you have 3 teammates that can control the group to get you into the last and final climb of Stage 6 of the 2023 Vuelta a España, you can control a 40-rider group, no problem. That's exactly what they did. Sepp Kuss went up the road. He did not take the race leader's red jersey, but he did win the stage and then took it later. The mistake in 2023 was pseudo quick steps, Remco Evenepoel being a knucklehead, and his director sportifs especially. Remco Evenepoel was the kid. So when I'm calling a kid a knucklehead, you got to believe it goes back onto the fault of the director sportifs because they had a ton of time to start pulling that group back. And instead, they let that group get out there, and Sepp Kuss took time, put himself in the race leader's jersey a couple stages later, went on to win the Vuelta a España on Stage 6. Okay, so let's see what happens on today's Stage 6. First, let's take a look at the profile. We see it's 170 kilometers, and we'll call it about 105 miles in length, 4 category climbs. Now, when we start looking at these climbs, it's certainly the last one you want to pay attention to because it's just under 10 kilometers, but just over 6%. The last 2 kilometers get a little bit harder, though, where we start talking about some 10 and 12% sections. So today's a good stage for the mountain climbers. But could it be a GC stage? I thought it'd be more Stage 7 than Stage 6, but you have to be careful on Stage 6. And that's why I told Jonas Vingegaard you don't need to worry about winning on Stage 6, but you want to be careful and don't let any knucklehead moves go away, like we saw Primoz Roglic do, like we saw Remco Evenepoel do on the last 2 seasons. Okay, the cameras come on. We got about 90 kilometers to go, just a hair under. We got 10 riders in the front group. 4-minute gap on the peloton chasing behind. We look at the peloton, we see VISMA bikes at the front. We see that's Dylan Van Barley, 1 rider riding against 10 riders in the front. When we look at the front riders, we got some threats on general classification because we got Torsten Treyen in there at 58 seconds. We got Bruno Armai at 102. We got Louis Vervaeke at 1:33. We got Lorenzo Fortunato at 1:43. And these guys got 4-minute gap already. But is this a problem? No, it's not a problem because none of these guys are true GC riders up in this group. There is Jay Vine up there. Now, if Jay Vine had been dropping off and losing time since stages 1, 2, and 3, and 4, whatever they were a lot of them that he was losing time on. If he hadn't lost that time, he could be a real threat on the general classification, but he's not up here because he's 20 minutes back. So when you look at these 10 guys, don't even worry about them if you're a VISMA bike fan. This is not anything to worry about. So that's why they only have Dylan Van Barley riding on the front. We get into a ton of rain early when the cameras come on, and we see there's a bit of a chaos back there. We got Sepp Kuss at the back by his car, and you see his director sportif handing out the jacket to him, even though he already has another jacket on. And then we see Sepp Kuss kind of fly by the director's car without taking the jacket, and that's because Sepp Kuss is paying attention. Now let's look in front of him as the road starts to really narrow. We're going into about 1 lane and 1 bike lane at the most that's coming through this, between the 2 buildings through this town. We look at the red official car, they shoot through it. They were clear. They didn't have the riders quite in the way, but it's a little bit tight. Then we see the second car, Movistar, start hitting the brakes. It pulls all the way over to the right side. We got a fan on the wall there. Remember, there's bikes on the top of the roof. Sometimes the bikes stick out a little wide. Movistar director, sportif in the car right now is doing a fine job. This is what you want to do. Don't knock the spectator off the wall and leave enough room for who? Sepp Kuss to fly through on the left side and the rest of the guys at the back that were getting jackets. Sepp Kuss did a remarkable job. We go up front, we look at the breakaway. Well, it's starting to get a little bit warm up there, and we start seeing Fortunato. He needs to take his shoe covers off. This was a good time to have your shoe covers on, not like Stage 1 with Mads Pedersen. Fortunato's having a little bit of problems. Maybe he needs some scissors right here to help you out, but he will get his shoe covers off, and then the 10 riders are working magic up there. They are all working well together. That's because everyone in this group of 10 up here, we got 2 teams with 2 riders each. As we look at EF Education, they have James Shaw up there, and they have Ryan Archie up there, or Archie Ryan, excuse me. So they got some teammates. And we know Vervaeke has a teammate up here because he has Gianmarco Ferroli up there at 3 minutes and 15 seconds, but he's not a threat on general classification. But having teammates, 2 teams with teammates, means you can control the group, but they don't need to because all 10 guys are rotating through magically, and the gap is still starting to always keep increasing. We go into about 35 kilometers to go. This stage is going to finish in Andorra. It has 2 climbs to finish it off with 25 kilometers to go and just under 10 kilometers to go. The climb with 25 kilometers to go, it's a stick of a climb at just about 4.5%. We'll call it about 8% average. So when everyone's coming into Andorra in the break of 10 up there and the gap is extending out to 6 minutes and 30 seconds, right now, you know we're seeing a stage victory up in this group of 10, and most likely, I call it 90%, you're going to see the breakaway up here start taking the race leader's red jersey. That's because, again, when we look at the peloton behind us, they're coming through Andorra, giving even more time now at about 6 minutes and 40 seconds. We know they're not nervous. We know VISMA Lisa Bikes, Jonas Vingegaard, is happy to give the race leader's red jersey because Torsten Treyen's not a threat. Bruno Armai's not a threat. Remember when I told you guys 2 stages ago, Bruno Armai shouldn't have been attacking solo because he's a breakaway specialist? Well, here he is, a chance to win the stage and a chance to take the race leader's red jersey, but he's got to have some good legs. Okay, we go up to the break of 10, and we see him come into the first climb with 25 kilometers to go. As we see him reach this climb, it's 5 minutes and 40 seconds to the peloton behind. We go back and start looking at the pelotons, getting a little nervous back there, as we see Dan Uhl, Mads Pedersen, and Ciccone trying to get into position so Ciccone can start this third climb on today's stage 6 here, the Vuelta, in good position. This is what you want to be doing. They're not trying to pull the peloton right now. They're trying to get Ciccone into the start of the climb in good position. This is how you want to do it. As the peloton rounds the right turn, we see Ciccone's in fine position. As they come out of it, Mads Pedersen's starting to blow at the front, so he's moving over to the left, but he's looking to the right. Moves a little bit too much to the left, bumps the rider next to him. If I recall right, it's a Astana rider. And then he does what? Well, if you bump the rider to the left of you because you weren't paying attention while you're looking right and you drifted left, the nicest thing to do is to give the rider there a little push. Happens all the time, no big deal. So as he gives him a push, we know the Astana rider's happy, Mads Pedersen's happy, he's got Ciccone into good position. We start going up the climb. First it's Jorgensen on the front of the peloton. He's going to do a little bit of work, but then we get Wilco Kelderman that comes over. Wilco Kelderman's the Super Domestique. Jorgensen you want to save for later on the last and final climb of today's stage 6. This is a perfect move for Visma Lisa Bike as Wilco's driving it on the front. We look up to the breakaway riders. If I bring you into the start of the climb again, Jay Vine spent a little bit of time on the front, but not too much time on the front. But we see that they were still all 10 guys working pretty well together and not attacking each other early into this climb. Later we'll find out there's a headwind going up this climb, so Jay Vine wanted to save a little bit of energy. As we back down to the peloton right now, we start seeing the first attack. It's Raul Garcia from Arkea Samsic with no Samsic because that was last year. So it's Arkea up the road attacking Garcia. This move makes no sense. The gap's a little too far. We're talking about 4.5 minutes to Raul Garcia to the 10 riders up front. Doesn't make any sense at this moment. Not by yourself. You're not going to make it. Back off the throttle. He doesn't. He's stuck in the middle there. He's going to have some problems. We go further up into about 650 meters to go. Jay Vine's on the front of the peloton. Bruno Armai, AG2R's having some difficulties. Remember, he's 4 seconds back on the general classification of Torsten Treyen. Jay Vine's 20 minutes down on the general classification. Oh, that's why we see him at the front, because he needs to break this group up. Now we go back down while we see Bruno Armai that was coming off the back. We go back down, we see Almeida is off the back. The Portuguese rider is off the back of the peloton right now, and he's got Domi Novak that's waiting up for him. These 2 riders from UAE team members start drilling it. They're trying to get Almeida back into the group of about 70 rider peloton being led by Visma Lisa Bike. We go back up front to the top of the KOM now because that 600 meters has passed and we missed who's coming across the KOM and we missed the attack, but we see Jay Vine rounding the right bend getting ready to start the descent. Now, Jay Vine, UAE Team Emirates, lives here in Andorra, so he knows this descent really well. He's going over solo. Just behind him, we see Vervaeke. Vervaeke got himself into the virtual KOM jersey at this point in time on stage 6, but he let the gap go up there to Jay Vine. You don't want to let the gap go up to a rider that knows the descent well. Now the roads are wet, slippery, and it's nasty out because it started raining big time as they came back in Andorra. Dried up a little bit, started raining again. Now this not necessarily raining, but it's completely wet out. So Jay Vine has to be really careful as he's dropping down this super technical descent. We go back and look at the peloton. We see Almeida's made it onto the back of the peloton. Dome and Novak did a fantastic job and then blew up. When we see the replay of what happened, we see Almeida had pulled over to the right side of the road, switched bikes. Take a look at Dome and Novak. He's behind the UAE team member's car when this happened, so he was already dropping off the group. So then he did a big pull with Almeida on his wheel and pulled him all the way into about 20 kilometers to go as they neared the top of the KOM and got Almeida back in this group, which is crucial because it's a technical descent. We go back up and look at the breakaway. Remember, these guys have over 4 minutes on the peloton, but they have one Jay Vine going up the road trying to win the stage. Now, what's happening here? This is a bit of a dilemma here when we come into 15 kilometers ago and we finish the descent. We see 9 riders coming together as Bruno Arma is coming onto the back of the group. But the problem is, in this 9 guys chasing the one guy up front, the one guy up front is not racing for a race leader's red jersey. The 9 guys behind are racing for a stage victory or possibly the race leader's red jersey. So it's a chemistry problem back here with the group of 9. They look like they're going not quite as hard as they need to go because Jay Vine's starting to extend the gap at 13 kilometers to go. He's got it at 30 seconds. Now, when we start coming into 12 kilometers to go, Jay Vine's got it up to 48 seconds, and he's got 4.5 minutes on the peloton. So you look at the breakaway riders, they're cruising, and the peloton's cruising too, which means what? It means VISMA leads the bikes racing intelligently at this moment. There's no doubt about it. They've had the ride on the front, but carefully throughout this stage 6, but not giving away the stage in the race leader's red jersey where it'll be difficult to get back. They know they can get it back because Jonas Vingegaard's what? The best climber in the world here at the Vuelta a España, as so long as he's on top form. So we start coming into the 10 kilometers to go. 10 kilometers to go starts the last and final climb. As we start this, we see Jay Vine's got a gap. We look back at the group of 9 chasing, and we see the first attack coming from Pablo Castrillo. Not the first, but this is the first real attack. EF Education did a little bit of attacking coming down the descent, but now Castrillo's throwing in big-time attacks, but he's got Fortunato and Torsten Treyen that are gapped just behind closing it up. Those guys will hesitate, slow up a little bit. The group will come back together. Then we'll see another attack, the second attack again from Castrillo. Remember, he won 2 stages of the Vuelta a España last season, so he wants the stage win because he's down on general classification. So he's throwing in attacks, but again, we see the Astana rider and the Bahrain Victorious rider closing up the gap. As they're closing up the gap, Castrillo's still not done. Guys, he's going to throw in another attack, but let's go back and look at the peloton and see what's happening back there because it's getting a little nervous and a little curb-to-curb action back there, and we start seeing that it's AG2R riding the front. Now we go back up front and look at the peloton, maybe back it up just a hair. We see Castrillo's throwing in another attack, his third attack. But again, it's covered by the guys who are racing for the race leader's red jersey right now. So Jay Vine is still up to about a minute gap, just about 55-minute gap up there. As Jay Vine's throwing down, he's got a chance of winning for UAE team members, but we got some more drama still to come. We come into about 6 kilometers to go, and we see Lidl Trek on the front. Now, this is Verona riding on the front, Baggioli sitting second, and Ciccone sitting third. Okay, these guys are knuckleheads. You know I'm going to call him a knucklehead. If you're trying to win the general classification, then this is not the way to do it. If you're trying to get a podium in the general classification, this is a perfect tactic. So if you're Ciccone, you want a podium, or if you're the director sportif from Lidl Trek, this is a perfect tactic to employ. But this is not the stage that you can drop everybody on because it's a little bit softer. So let's take a look and see what's happening, because when we go back up to the breakaway, we see what? Vervaeke's dropping off the back. He's getting dropped. So his chances of putting himself in the race leader's red jersey has just now disappearing because what? We look up front, Torsten Treyen from Bahrain Victorious is throwing in his attack. Just behind him, Fortunato, along with the AG2R rider, Bruno Arma, are trying to close the gap, but Torsten Treyen is going to start extending it. Now the question is can he bring back 50, 55 seconds on Jay Vine up the road? Well, we got to go back and look at the peloton now 5 kilometers ago because we got more interesting things happening at the back of the peloton. because we see Ayuso at the back of the peloton from UAE team members. So at this moment, you got Ayuso at the back of the peloton. Almeida, Soler, Großschartner's near the front of the peloton with VISMA Lisa bike and Lidl Trek driving it. We look at the front. It's at the front of this group way up there, about 5 minutes now, 4.5. It's Jay Vine going up there solo. So UAE team members are spread thin all over the place, and there's no one at the back of the peloton with Ayuso. We look at the FDJ rider, Rudy Molardi's looking over to the right at Ayuso, wondering what's happening. We're still like 40 guys, 50 guys right now. Almeida's going to come off the back at just over 4 kilometers and start to blow. This is second on the general classification. This is a big happening. It's Lidl Trek at the front that's driving it, that's dropping Ayuso off the back. Now are you calling me a knucklehead at this moment? Well, first off, this is a knucklehead move to still be driving it on the front up there with Verona, and you shouldn't be worried about Ayuso coming off the back. Why? Because the biggest threat for general classification is who? VISMA Lisa bike, Jonas Vingegaard. He's the 5-star favorite, the outright favorite here at the Vuelta a España. You do not want to drop UAE Team Emirates riders that could put pressure later on bigger mountain stages, more crucial mountain stages on VISMA Lisa bike's team. Instead, Lidl Trek still driving in at the front with Verona as Ayuso's getting dropped off the back. Guys, he's going to lose over 12 minutes. We go up front. We see Jay Vine is throwing down, and he's not losing too much time. He's at about 45 seconds to Torsten Treyen, who's trying to bring back the rider up front by not gaining enough time. We go back and look at the peloton. We're coming into about 3.7 kilometers, and this is where Verona blows. Baggioli hops on the front. Guys, the group's still about 40 riders strong. This is not going to work. You're not going to get rid of multiple riders on the front of the peloton right now. You got to save it for a better window of opportunity. But Baggioli's throwing down. Cicconi's on his wheel. The peloton's still at about 40 riders. Baggioli's going to keep driving it all the way into about 1.5 kilometers to go. We start looking up front. Jay Vine's still going solo, of course. Torsten Treyen now is losing time the other direction, so you know Jay Vine's going to get ready to start wrapping up a stage victory here on stage 6 for UAE Team Emirates. But what's happening in the back as we look at Baggioli blowing, Ciccone throws in his attack. This was their planned move. As Ciccone attacks, guess who's on his wheel? Jonas Vingegaard's on his wheel. When we start looking at the attack more closely, we see Ciccone sprinting in the drops, off the saddle, standing up with everything he's got. We look at the attack, the rider sitting on for the attack. We see that Jonas Vingegaard's not even out of the saddle. He's followed the move smoothly. What's happening just behind these two guys as Ciccone was looking back, looking directly at the eyes there of Jonas Vingegaard? Well, just behind them, it's Bahrain Victorious back there. 2 riders are drilling on the front, Santiago Buitrago and Tiberi's there, along with the American rider Sepp Kuss. Just behind that group, we see it's the diesel engine Almeida. Almeida's drilling it. We'll call it about 20 riders that are in this group with Almeida on the front. We go to the back of this group. We see Ben O'Connor's back there. FDJ's Godu is back there, and they're starting to blow, and Soler has to come around. As they're coming around, we got to go up to the front because what's happening? Jay Vine is getting ready to wrap up a stage 6 victory. He comes out of the last bends. He takes a look over his shoulder. He's going to sit up, give the little heart, and a huge roar as he comes through and wins stage 6. Now, we look just behind him, well, almost a minute behind him, is Torsten Treyen that's coming across from Bahrain Victorious. But why is this important? Torsten Treyen is going to put himself into the race leader's red jersey here. So, fantastic ride to wrap up second place. And remember, he had the battle against Bruno Armai, he had the battle against Vervaeke, and of course, he had the battle against Fortunato on this climb in order to get the race leader's red jersey and hold off the peloton. So, second place, fantastic job for Torsten Treyen. We look further back in third place, that's Fortunato. Now, let's go back and look at the action of the peloton back here, the GC favorites, as Ciccone has slotted into second wheel because Jonas Vingegaard's riding the front of the peloton. Well, he's riding the front, but Almeida's wrapped up everyone else back there, and the diesel engine is drilling it. He's got some company on his wheel because Egan Bernal's there, Tiberi's there, and Felix Gall's there. Now we look a little bit further back. There's a chase happening back there, and Tom Pidcock is on the front. He's trying to drive it to bring this stuff back together. He's got some VISMA Lisa bike company back there with Sepp Kuss and Jorgensen too. But there's a little bit of hesitation. Almeida's rode the front for a little bit, but we're coming into about a K to go when we see the 6 riders up front get caught from the 6 riders behind. We got Ben O'Connor out of the picture, and along with Ben, we got Davi Gaudu, who's dropping. He looked like he'd be a threat for the general classification, but on the first row mountain stages, these two riders got bad legs. So we go up to the dozen riders or so that are up there latched on together. Almeida comes off the front. Sepp Kuss takes over. The American rider takes over, starts drilling in about 500 meters to go. Then it's the second American rider in this front group. Excuse me. There's three in this front group because Matthew Riccatello from Premier Tech's made this front group of a dozen riders too, but it's the second American on the front, Jorgensen, that's driving it. He drives it into about 225 meters to go. Then we see the attack from Almeida. He lights it up on the pedals. He's got Jonas Vingegaard on his wheel, Ciccone just behind him, Felix Gall there, and everyone struggling behind 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, all the way to 12th, as we see Almeida around the bend, take it all the way in for 10th on the stage. These guys are going to lose 4 minutes and 20 seconds. Then we got to wait about 25 more seconds where we see Gaudu and Ben O'Connor cross the line as they lost a ton of time. But when I'm talking about the tactics of Jonas Vingegaard and VISMA Lease bike, you guys were spot on. You do not want to risk losing anything. And when you're riding the front with Ciccone, I think Jonas was backed off just a little bit, being safe, because Ciccone's 9 seconds down on the general classification. You don't want to drill all the way into the finish after you pulled Ciccone on your wheel and then have him drop you and gain some more time. So Jonas Vingegaard backed off the throttle. UAE team members Almeida closed all the gaps and then finished basically with all the GC guys together. But Juan Ayuso lost a ton of time today. When it's all said and done, I don't like the tactics of Lidl-Trek, so I'll call them knuckleheads again here at the first week. This might be the 5th time in 6 days of racing here. So Lidl-Trek, maybe sharpen it up if you want to win the general classification. But Jonas Vingegaard, you looked fantastic. Ciccone, what were you going to try to do today? You can't win the stage. Like and subscribe. I'll see you guys for the next Stage 7, the real summit finish here on the first week of the Vuelta a España real soon.